Well, hello Tenthers, and a very good morning, a very good afternoon, and a very good evening based on the time in which you'll be watching this video. I'm hoping that every one of you is doing fine along with members of your family. And before I ask you all to be safe from the coronavirus, I will be asking you all to be safe from the heat wave which is flowing through our region right now. Moving on, we were talking about the First World War, the war which was touted to be, or the war which was said to be a war which would put an end to all kinds of wars. But we all know that war only brings about a war. War never puts an end to a war. So be it any war, be it a war which we think of should be happening, or wars which should happen, wars which people, the warmongering people who keep on shouting and clamoring for wars, should keep in mind that no war puts an end to war. War will always, the winning side will always want to win more, the losing side will want to take revenge, and war never puts an end to war. War actually brings up, or war actually causes more wars. It is only peace, dialogue, and talks which help us bring about an everlasting peace. Now, this First World War, which we are talking about, the First World War started, and after the Sarajevo crisis, the First World War started, and Austria-Hungary, they declared war on Serbia. Russia came to the help of Serbia, and Germany asked Russia not to interfere in these matters and to demobilize its forces, but Russia did not listen to Germany, and Germany declared war on Russia, and also Germany declared war on Serbia. And Germany, so a few things about the war. Germany had wanted to fight with the French. There was a very old the French and that German, the Franco-Prussian rivalry, and the Germans wanted to defeat the French and to put an end to the French, put an end to the French power and superiority once and for all. And Germany had this plan of attacking the French, attacking France, capturing Paris via Belgium. If you look into the map, you will find that France and Germany do share a border, but that is the Black Forest. Those are marshy and swampy lands, and tanks cannot be moving through that border. So Germany had to move through Belgium into France, and that was the plan. Belgium was a neutral country, and Germany had thought that Belgium will not be interfering and will be allowing movement of German troops into France via Belgium. And Germany had wanted to finish France first, because the Germans knew that the Russian advance and the Russian armies coming to the eastern border will be taking time. So before Russia comes to the eastern borders of Germany, Germany had thought, this was said to be the Schlieffen Plan. This Schlieffen Plan was actually thought, or this was what was actually the plan was that Germany will be attacking France, capturing Paris, and then the German soldiers who were there in France will be brought back and will be pushed towards the the eastern border of Germany. That is, they'll be going towards the border of Russia. They'll be fighting the Russians, moving into Russia, defeating Russia, and then Germany will be at peace, and Germany will have a huge amount of land. But what actually did not turn out in the Germans' favor was that Germany did not, or had not thought that Belgium will be resisting the German advance, but Belgium did that. And as Belgium started resisting the German advance, the French got time to mobilize their forces and to get ready for a war. And the Germans had thought that they'll be moving through Belgium into France in just a matter of 2 days and catch the French by surprise. But this did not happen. The element of surprise was lost, and this way the plan became a lost plan in the very starting, or in the very beginning of the war. The Schlieffen Plan was now bound to fail. Germany could not move into Belgium or move into France as fast as it had wanted. It did move into France though, but it was after 14 days, and by that time the Belgians had resisted the Germans for 14 days, and by this time the French had got time to regroup their forces. One more thing which had happened was that Belgium had signed a neutrality pact with Britain, And Britain had said that anyone who will be interfering with the neutrality of Belgium, they will become, or they will have, or they will be at war with Britain. Now this happened. Belgium was protected by the Neutrality Act of Britain, and as Germany violated this neutrality of Belgium, United Kingdom or England, England declared war on Germany, and as England and France were partners or had signed an alliance, so England, France, they were at war with Germany. Italy over here is a curious case. Italy was actually a part of the Triple Alliance and not the Triple Entente. Before the war, Italy was a part of the alliance with Germany, but after the war started, Italy was promised a few lands which would be taken from the German control if the French and the Britishers were able to defeat the Germans. And Italy, in want of these lands, these extra lands which it would get by fighting on the side of the French and the Britishers, Italy switched its sides and the war started. The war was actually till 1918, till the start of 1918, Germany was actually winning the war. Russia, which was fighting on the side of the French and the British, had moved away from the war, or had stopped taking part in the war after the November Revolution in 1917, or the Bolshevik Revolution. After the Bolsheviks, or after the Communist Party came into rule in Russia, the Russians moved out of the war. So Germany now had to concentrate only on the Western Front, that was only fighting against France, England, and Italy. And Germany was actually winning till 1918. But a new type of warfare had started. That was called the the sea warfare, or the submarine warfare had started. And in this submarine warfare, Germany was blockading and actually also hitting with torpedoes. Torpedoes are the undersea missiles or the submarine missiles, and they were German submarines were attacking the ships which were moving on the waters. And this was also due to a reason, because England had blockaded the ports of Germany. Blockaded meaning it had actually made ships stand far away from the ports of Germany and was blocking any incoming ship towards the German ports, so as to starve Germany from, or so as to keep Germany away from any kinds of food grain or any kind of weapons which were coming for Germany's help. And in order to remove this blockade, or in order to circumvent this blockade, the Germans were mercilessly bombarding the boats which were actually in the blockade, and also they were bombarding any kinds of boat. What happened was that America was not a part of this war. America was doing business as usual with both the German and the Austrian side, and the British and the French side. The United States were not a part of this war. But one ship, Lusitania, which was carrying, the Lusitania was actually flying English flags, and the Lusitania was also carrying armaments for England. But the Lusitania was also having lots of American passengers, and Germany, with its torpedo or with its submarine, it actually missiled or bombed this Lusitania. And this caused a wide amount of rage and flurry back in the United States, because the United States civilians were harmed in this. And this caused the United States to join the war in the side of the British and the French. And after this, the war started, or the result of the war started tilting towards the Allied side, or towards the side of the British and the French, because the British and the French now had huge resources of America at its disposal, resources of monetary resources, resources of men, resources of armaments. So all these were now at the disposal of Britain and France. And by towards the end of 1918, Germany was wanting to surrender. This surrender was a part of the then President of United States. I'm forgetting the name. He was President Woodrow Wilson. Now, President Woodrow Wilson had presented his 14-point agenda, or 14-point plan. And President Woodrow Wilson, in his 14-point plan, or Germany accepted this 14-point plan in order to finish the war or end the war. And after this was done, the war ended. After the ending of the war, what actually happened was there was a treaty which was signed at the Palace of Mirrors in Versailles. Versailles was in France, or is in France, and this is called the Treaty of Versailles. There were many other treaties also which were signed with other losing nations, that is Austria-Hungary. But then this Treaty of Versailles is one of the most important treaty in history, which actually changed the course of history in the subsequent years. Now, this treaty is or was a very controversial treaty, because this treaty is said to be a treaty which was dictated upon Germany. Germany had no part or did not take part in the deliberations or in during the discussions of the terms of the treaty, and Germany was actually just presented the terms and asked or forced to sign this treaty. We all say that when a war is done, someone has to take the blame for the war, and someone will be collecting the spoils of the war. Spoils of the war is nothing but those or taking the winning or the trophy of the war. So the winner always takes the spoils of the war, and it is the losing side which has to take the blame for the war. And this is what again happened over here. The Treaty of Versailles squarely put the blame of the war on Germany and the aggression of Austria and Germany, and the other countries. Okay, well, this was a bit contentious clause, because you just cannot pin the blame of an entire war which spanned 4 years and which caused a huge amount of destruction in terms of men and money. You cannot pin the blame of such a war on just one nation or one cause. It was a war which was fought by so many nations, and everyone wanted a part of this war, because everyone wanted that after this war is done, they will be richer by colonies, or they will be capturing more colonies, getting more economic advantage from getting the colonies. So putting the blame entirely on Germany was one contentious issue. There was another contentious issue, and let me just read out a few provisions of the treaty. First was the war indemnity. War indemnity is nothing but someone who is given the blame of the war has to pay reparations or has to pay money to the other countries, so as to make up for the amount of destruction which that country inflicted on those countries. Now, as Germany was made to blame for the war, Germany was also to pay the reparations to the other countries. And this again is a bit of a controversial issue, and this contentious clause over here, Germany had to, it was decided after a lot of haggling that Germany had to pay somewhere around 6,600 million pounds, or somewhere around $33 billion that time. So that was the amount Germany had to pay to the other countries. And you have to keep in mind the other countries were also fighting. It was not only Germany which was fighting, and it was not only the other countries which were destroyed or devastated. Germany was also devastated, but then all the amount had to be paid by Germany. This was later put down, and this amount was huge, and people, not only Germans but also many Englishmen, many Americans, they raised their voice against such a huge amount. But the French actually wanted this amount to stay this much. The French were the ones who wanted harshest of terms for Germany in this Treaty of Versailles. Why was it so? Because if you look at the map, France and Germany, they share a border, and the French and the Prussian or the German rivalry went back to a century or more, and France was tired of fighting with Germany, and France also did not have that much amount of expertise or resources so as to keep on fighting with Germany. So France wanted to end this fight with Germany once and for all, and France knew that if this treaty could weaken Germany, then Germany would never be able to raise its head again in Europe, and France will be living at peace. But then this was not to happen, because just a few years later we had another war, and this Second World War can be blamed, or a lot of the blame can be put on this Treaty of Versailles, or the harshest terms which were put for Germany. Next, we have a few areas which were demilitarized. That was the Rhine Valley. Rhine is the main river of Germany, which is passing through Germany, and this Rhine Valley was demilitarized. It means that Germany could not keep its military or could not keep its army on the other or in the Rhine Valley, and it could not construct any kind of fortification. Moreover, all existing forts were destroyed, and this Rhine Valley would be occupied by the Allied troops, that is the French and the British troops, mainly the French troops, for a period of 15 years. Because this Rhine Valley was also rich in coal, and this Rhine Valley was also very fertile, so the French could have access to all these resources. Next, the Alsace-Lorraine and the Saar Basin. The treaty brought some vital territorial rearrangements also over here. The France got back the Alsace-Lorraine region. The Alsace-Lorraine region was lost by France, or France lost this Alsace-Lorraine region in the Franco-Prussian War, or the Prussia is the old name of Germany. So France lost this area in the Franco-Prussian War, which happened in 1870-71, and this part was given back to France in the Treaty of Versailles. And also the destruction which had happened in France in the First World War, so as to compensate for that, the Saar Basin which was there, which was rich in coal deposits, those coal mines of Germany were given to France, and France got them for a period of 15 years. So France could use those coal mines and the coal from the Saar Basin for a period of 15 years, so as to make up for the destruction which had happened in France. France, you have to keep in mind that France is or was never bestowed with lots of natural resources. That is why France wanted these areas so as to get hold of natural resources and so as to have economic development. Next, we have Schleswig. The Schleswig was taken away from Denmark in 1864 by the Germans, and this Schleswig was given back to Denmark after a plebiscite. Next, we have Eupen and Malmedy. Another territorial rearrangement happened over here. Eupen and Malmedy were given to Germany, and the city of Memel went to Lithuania. Poland was a part of the Austrian Empire. Poland got independence, and Poland also got a port, the Danzig port. Danzig was a German port, and Poland got hold of this port, and because Poland did not have an opening into the sea, that is why Poland got this port. And Danzig was a German port, and Poland got hold of this port. Germany lost, this is one of the most important thing, and this was not needed actually. Germany lost most of its or lost all of its colonies. If you look at this point, you will understand that this war was it may have started because of some or the other reason, but as the war progressed, some countries or the countries were actually in search or in a lookout for gaining more and more colonies. So these colonies which Germany had, these were taken away from Germany and was put under mandateship, or was where these colonies were made mandates of the Allied powers, that is of Britain and France. Mandates as in Britain and France will be looking after these territories. Looking after, you all can understand, it was a way of telling that Britain and France will be annexing those territories of Germany. This was actually not required, but then this too happened, and this was a very grave humiliation which was thrust upon Germany. And in order to cripple the military strength of Germany, the number of German army was reduced to only 1 lakh soldiers. The navy was limited to 15,000 men and 36 ships, and the air force were completely banned, and the submarines were also not allowed. Next, supply of coal. Although France had taken over the Saar Basin, but again Germany had to supply huge quantities of coal to France, Italy and Belgium for a period of 10 years. You can look at this or you can understand. These are the countries which are not very natural resource rich, and that is why the treaty forced Germany to give the natural resource of coal to these countries. And lastly, many of the countries gained independence. We have the League of Nations which came. Now the League of Nations was actually something which Woodrow Wilson had thought of, and the League of Nations was thought to be an organization which will prevent all further wars, but this did not happen. So but we'll be doing up this in the next chapter or in the coming chapters when we do the United Nations. I guess you all understand why this Treaty of Versailles was called a dictated peace treaty, and the main reason why France wanted this to happen was because France never wanted Germany to raise its head again. But it happened, and it was this Treaty of Versailles which gave the Germans a reason to again come into a war. All this will be done in the upcoming chapters. Well, I hope you all will be staying well, doing well, and please keep in touch with your studies. Thank you.